Welcome back to Off the Schneid. Today we're going to take a look at the Los Angeles Rams, the Super Bowl winning Los Angeles Rams, which makes me pretty unhappy. Congrats Rams. Good game. Good on you. Good win. We're going to talk about their draft needs. Like I said, draft needs above me, draft capital above that. This team is obviously said, the FTP. FTP is the motto for the Rams. F them picks. So, they do have quite a bit of capital, actually. They do have a lot of picks. They're all, lower in the draft. Their highest pick is 104. They need that to be a difference maker, but realistically, it's worked out for them. Obviously, they just won the Super Bowl. So, who needs picks when you have difference makers on your team? And this team absolutely has difference makers on it. So let's get right into it here. We'll start at the quarterback position as always. Matt Stafford, had a fantastic year here. There's no reason to think he won't keep that going. He's not as old as people think. I think he's, 33, 34, 33, I believe. He's really not as old as people think. He's just been in the league a long time, but he can absolutely get the job done. Obviously, he's Pro Bowl type of a quarterback if he's not in the Super Bowl. There's nothing to worry about there. John Wolford, he can be a quality backup. I'm okay with John Wolford. If you do want to draft a backup, sure, but realistically, I'm probably fine with it. I'd rather take some dart throws on some other positions and just continue to develop guys, because that's what they've been doing. And they've been doing a very good job of doing that, is, drafting a little later with these late, round picks, third, fourth, fifth round picks, developing them. And then hopefully they work out. And if not, they replace them by trading picks, which is, not the end of the world. It's like I said, they just won a Super Bowl. It's worked out for them. Move to the running back position. Cam Akers came back from a torn Achilles in crazy record amount of time. I think the only guy that I don't even think that was faster, Terrell Suggs, came back after like 9 months and had a fantastic season. But 6 months for Cam Akers, that's insane. And absolutely, I fully expect him to have a very good season this year. I really, really do. He's a 3-down back. He can do it all. And then, Darrell Henderson's there to spell him, and he will have an opportunity to play and be a difference maker as well. I don't think that, realistically, there is no more pretty much at all, bell cow 3-down backs. They get all the snaps. Najee Harris was that guy last year, but if they, I'd be shocked if they don't add in the draft to take some of that pressure off of them. Obviously, you see a little bit of that with Derrick Henry, most likely as well. We'll see at least passing down, stuff like that. But, there's definitely going to be a role for Darrell Henderson, and he's a quality backup should anything happen or reoccur with Cam Akers. I would take a look at drafting a running back. They have, the picks are there for them to make a selection in the 6th round. You can get a quality running back in the 6th round of the NFL draft, absolutely. And they have 3 6th-round picks there, a couple 7s. I take one of those 6, grab a running back, and have him compete with Jake Funk, who I really don't think is a very good running back at all personally. Xavier Jones is there as well, but I grab a guy in the draft in the 6th round to compete for that 3rd running back spot on this team. Let's move it to the tight end position. Tyler Higbee had a very good year, very, very good year last year. He got a little banged up towards the end of the year, but realistically, it shouldn't be a concern. He's a very quality tight end. He can definitely get the job done, and there's no reason to think he won't have a similar year this year. Bryson Hopkins is a guy that I don't mind at all. He's a quality depth guy who can catch the ball, former 4th-round pick. And then Jacob Harris, who's just an absolute specimen of an athlete. He played wide receiver in college. He's obviously too big to play wide receiver in the NFL, and he should excel as a tight end. He had a season-ending injury. I think it was a torn ACL maybe, that he missed pretty much all of last year. He should come back, with modern medicine where it's at today. He should come back just as strong, if not stronger, and then hopefully he'll be able to carve himself out a role and is probably going to be that tight end of the future on this team as a weapon, but we'll see how that shakes out. We're getting ahead of ourselves with Jacob Harris. He's a guy that I do really like, though. Let's move to this offensive line, and obviously there's a big hole here left by Andrew Whitworth retiring. One of the better left tackles of our kind of generation. He's definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he's finally gone, won a Super Bowl. Finally, he deserves it. Ride off into the sunset. Good for him. Quality career, like I said, first ballot Hall of Famer. We're finally going to see if Joe Noteboom is going to be that guy. He's going to obviously get the opportunity. It is a question mark. I do have left tackle as their number one need, but, realistically, Joe Noteboom, deserves a shot to be that guy, and he will get it. He absolutely will get it. My number one need doesn't really mean a lot when their number one, first pick is 104. Like, realistically, all these needs are the same, and it doesn't really matter. They could pick whatever they want, and like I said, Joe Noteboom's going to get that shot. Former third-round pick. He's never had a starting opportunity realistically, but he's going to get that here, obviously, now. Same thing at right guard with Bobby Evans. They're question marks, and I have O-line there, but realistically, it should be right guard, and then there is depth as well. But right guard and left tackle are the only two real question marks on this offensive line. Everyone else is very good. Rob Havenstein, Brian Allen, he's a guy that they developed, finally got his opportunity last year and more than excelled. So, as long as they can keep developing guys, and Joe Noteboom and Bobby Evans are those guys, this team's not going to miss a beat. We'll see what happens, and hopefully for the Rams and for Rams fans, they are the guys. And like I said, this team won't miss a beat whatsoever. David Andrews, very good as well, 5th round pick. There's nothing higher than a 2nd round pick on this offensive line, and that was in 2015 with Rob Havenstein. So as long as they keep developing and churning out talent, or they trade, their picks for talent. It's a great strategy, and it's been working. Won them a Super Bowl. So we'll see what those two guys got, but they do have to add some depth. Charlie Brewer's decent depth, and Elric Jackson was a guy that I really liked out of, I believe, Iowa, who kept Tristan Wirfs on the right side of that offensive line. Tristan Wirfs, he's a very good right tackle. He was a very good right tackle in college, but if it wasn't for Elric Jackson, he would probably be the left tackle at Iowa. So, he's another guy that they could develop into potentially being a starting, caliber offensive lineman in the NFL. I'm not saying left tackle 100%, but, he's an undrafted free agent. If he slides into guard and you get, some good years out of him, that's more than worth it. So there you go. Let's kick it over to the playmakers at wide receiver. Obviously, Cooper Kupp had video game stats last year, almost 2,000 receiving yards. What was it? 145 catches on 191 targets, 1,947 yards and 16 touchdowns. That's absolutely obscene. It's hard to say that he'll, replicate that. I think teams will obviously just force someone else to beat them, kind of a thing. He is still that good just to get open and get the job done. And Matt Stafford obviously looks at him every play pretty much. But it's hard to say if that's completely sustainable. And then, with Robert Woods gone, OBJ is likely, I don't know, maybe he does come back on the cheap. We'll see. But right now he's still a free agent. But, the stat line for Robert Woods and Odell Beckham Jr., which was basically, they never really played together. I don't even know if they played together at all. There might have been, a game, might have been one game. But in 17 total games, those two combined had 117 targets, 72 catches, 861 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Now, does that all just go to Allen Robinson? Maybe it does. I don't know. But a guy that I really like on this team is Van Jefferson. He was a former 2nd round pick, had a decent rookie year, didn't get the opportunity. They develop him, all that kind of stuff. Had a very good year last year. I think he was 802 yards, 6 touchdowns, I believe. There's no reason to think that he doesn't take another step, and he's kind of a fantasy sleeper for me. I think that there's no reason why he can't get over 1,000 yards and, again, 6 to 8 touchdowns next year. I really don't see why he doesn't do that, unless you just say all of that stat line goes to Allen Robinson, which, it definitely could. It certainly could, but we could see 3,000 yard receivers on this team potentially. If I'm being honest, I see Allen Robinson sliding into that, right around 800 yards, and then Van Jefferson gets over that 1,000-yard mark, and Cooper Kupp does what Cooper Kupp does. So let's look at the depth here. Tutu Atwell, I really didn't like that pick whatsoever in the second round last year. We'll see if he can be a contributor, special teams return guy, stuff like that. But realistically, they're going to need to add a guy, Ben Skowronek, I can never say his name properly. I don't really like him, if I'm being honest. I'm definitely adding a wide receiver somewhere, whether it's 4th, 5th, or even a 6th round pick, something like that. But I'm at least adding competition here and having my best guys, on the field and making this team. Brandon Powell, Landon Akers, sure, JJ Koski, these guys can all compete with each other. And then you just have your best 5, 6 wide receivers with those 4 that are sharpied in as all making this team 100%. So let's move over to the defensive side of the ball now. We'll talk about Raheem Morris's defense. Former offensive guy, then defensive guy, offensive, defensive. Either way, he's found a home as a defensive coordinator with these Rams, and I think he's a very good coordinator. Obviously, especially with some of the guys he has on this team that are, kind of coaches on the field, Aaron Donald. And, it takes a little bit of pressure off of him. There's so much talent on this defense. There really is still, even with losing a guy like Von Miller. So let's work through it here. Obviously, the defensive line and the heartbeat of this team starts with Aaron Donald. He's one of the best, if not the best defensive player, and probably, in my opinion, is the best defensive player in football, period. Having that ability to rush the passer out of the interior of the line, it's just it's a mismatch nightmare, and he's an absolute specimen. I think he had 11 sacks last year, which was kind of an off year for him, but he's absolutely fantastic. Greg Gaines had a very good year last year. He had, I think, 4.5 sacks, I believe. He had a very good year. A'Shawn Robinson, he had a couple sacks as well, and they're all good in the run game. So there's really nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And like I said, they just keep churning out this talent. Bobby Brown and Ernest Brown were both very good draft picks, 4th, 5th round guys that can absolutely be those depth guys, and I wouldn't be concerned if they had to start if an injury occurred. I wouldn't be concerned one bit. I don't think this team loses anything with those two coming in. So let's move it back to the edge rushers now. Obviously Leonard Floyd's still there. He's very good he's been very good for this team, and he will continue to be very good for this team. Terrell Lewis had a decent year last year, and is again 3rd round pick. They're just churning out this talent. He chipped in with 3 sacks last year. Hopefully he can take that step forward. No reason to think he doesn't. Justin Hollins, he can help out. I'm not super happy if he's one of my starters. And then Chris Garrett was a guy that I really, really liked last year. 7th round pick, small school guy. Again, they just keep developing guys and churning out talented players. So I do have edge rusher as a need, and I think it is a need, but realistically, again, with the draft capital there, you just draft a guy in the 4th, 5th, 6th round, continue to develop these guys, and they should be just fine. Maybe they pick up a guy, in free agency or at the, during the season, they make another trade for their 1st round pick in 10 years or something, you know what I mean? And I could see something like that happening, but right now they're okay, especially with what they have going on in the interior. Middle linebacker, obviously they bring in Bobby Wagner, who's already a first ballot Hall of Famer, 100%. He's still a very good linebacker. Had, I think he had 100 solo tackles last year and like 160 total, something like that. He can absolutely still get the job done. He knows this division, and he's going to be, juiced up to win another championship potentially. So he's a fantastic grab. And then Ernest Jones had a fantastic rookie year last year, another 3rd round pick. He had a fantastic rookie year last year. Probably gets a little bit overstated understated and a little overlooked in his rookie year, but he had a fantastic year. I think they could look at linebacker, but up and down this lineup, it's just depth. And then just keeping the machine rolling with late round picks to continue to develop and churn out talent. So it's not really a huge need, but it's something worth looking at. Move it back to the corners and DBs. Robert Rochelle, 4th round pick last year, another late round pick. He had if he could take that step, then you're more than happy. They lost, Williams. I can't remember his name, but Williams, they lost him this season, obviously. Jalen Ramsey's still your number one guy, no question about it, but he needs that other guy just to be, good enough. And that's what he was. And hopefully Robert Rochelle can be that guy where he's just good enough to, make sure that he's not being taken advantage of realistically. And you can have safety help on that side, but Jalen Ramsey's still, one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, lockdown guys. David Long is another 3rd round pick. He can definitely get the job done, but I think corner is definitely another need. It might be their biggest need, if I'm being honest with you. A cornerback might be their biggest need over left tackle when you have Joe Noteboom to hopefully be your guy. Safety's in an all right spot as well. Jordan Fuller was again 6th round pick, very pleasant surprise, and he can get the job done. Taylor Rapp is a very good safety. He can more than get the job done out of Washington. DBU Washington. Terrell Burgess was a guy that I liked in the draft. He can do a lot of different things. And, maybe they take a 6th or 7th round pick and throw it at a safety again, something like that. And again, just continue to build this thing out like they have been doing for the past however many years. I really don't think that the Rams are getting enough credit for that. Taking these 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round picks and turning them into quality NFL players, whether they stay with this team long term or move on to other franchises. Either way, the Rams are developing players like it's going out of style, and it's continued to just say FTP, F them picks. Let's get players that can be difference makers right now, because I got a guy coming. I got a guy coming up, and I won't be concerned in a year or two, sort of a thing. So we'll see. But there you go. There's your Super Bowl winning LA Rams. There's no reason to think that they won't probably win this division. They're going to be right there. I think it's a 2-headed race between the Rams and the 49ers in this division. Either way, the Rams will be a playoff team in 2022, and they'll have an opportunity to repeat and be Super Bowl champs again. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, I don't know if I mentioned it, but keep an eye out for my mock draft coming out in about a week or so. Not even, a little less than a week. Should be this Saturday. The Rams won't be in it because they don't have any first-round picks, and I very, very highly doubt that they move into the first round, as in 0% chance that they do. But keep an eye out for it and see what I do on that. But there's your breakdown for the 2022 LA Rams. Let me know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you on the next video.